Good evening, this is a meeting of the Hampden, calling a meeting to order of the Hampden Board of Selectmen and the Board of Health being held in the Townhouse of Selectmen's office, May 28th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being recorded. Is there anyone else recording the meeting besides ourselves? Kristen Rivers from the Wilbraham Hampden Times. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to just start by saying that the Memorial Day ceremonies were quite nice and well done and well attended. Unfortunately, we couldn't have the parade because of the fear of storms that were supposedly coming in. They didn't show up till later, but it was a good event and a good day and a good ceremony to honoring our fallen heroes. Right, minutes, May 6th, the regular meeting. All right, we had highway department was in with the asphalt bid, and we had a discussion on Vadar, which we will continue at some later date. We discussed the Hampden Wilbraham Regional School budget. The government study committee, we've postponed that for now. Board of Health coordinators and facilities management, we discussed that briefly. Okay. I don't know what that's about. And we had some selectmen's reports. I don't know what's that about. Oh, that's the ballot questions, the discussion of the ballot questions. Removal of the ballot questions from the.
Oh, right. I'll motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we have executive session minutes from May 6th. This is continuing police union contract negotiations.
So the part there about holiday time, and we had the one question about a couple of holidays. And this doesn't seem to reflect, what did we decide about that? Remember they had a request that, I think it was a pre-take. What was it, Memorial and Juneteenth?
Yes, yeah, that was included in the contract.
Okay, was that in different minutes that we agreed to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
A motion to approve without release?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so congratulations on your election. You beat Blanks handily.
I did, yeah. 401 to 4.
4-1 to what?
Four other.
Oh, 4 and 4 other, right. Right. So this is traditionally reorganized.
Make a motion to appoint Don Davenport as chair for the upcoming election year.
Second.
Any further discussion? Thank you, gentlemen. Any further discussion?
Thanks for bringing the pie to influence everything.
All in favor?
Swayed my vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
And one abstention. Board of Health.
I'll make a motion to appoint John Flynn to a Board of Health for the upcoming year.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
One abstention. And then we had talked about the the emergency management director position and is putting it into the Board of Selectmen. Do you have a motion?
Well, who wants it? I mean, I'm happy to do it. Craig, do you want it? Don, do you want it?
I would enjoy to take on that role.
Okay. Make a motion to appoint Craig Rivest as the emergency management coordinator or liaison.
I
or what
think
you wanna
they're technically referred to emergency management directors underneath.
Directors.
I don't say, report to the police chief.
So we're still keeping Scott in the top role?
No, I think
No,
I thought when you said report to the police chief, I'm like,
I would say be liaison to the police department, maybe that would be a better term, so that way we can get communications.
so we're still keeping the chief as?
No,
Okay,
we would bring the EMD role under the Board of Selectmen, but I think every other department or entity has a liaison, the police department doesn't. You know, highway, you know, council on aging,
you're taking, coming this way.
yeah,
okay, all I'm saying is, when I first started that, I was the guy, and I called the meetings where I brought highway, police, fire, held the meeting, and parceled it out. Who's gonna be doing that? That's gonna be you. So, oh my gosh, there's a blizzard projected a week from now. You're gonna say, you know what, we should have a meeting, get together, make sure everything's buttoned up, and we're good to go.
right, and it's more than that, but
I know
yes,
that,
yeah,
but I mean,
yeah.
who's gonna be that? And I think that should be you.
Yeah, that would be the
Okay.
emergency management director,
Right.
yeah.
Who's linking up with MEMA, getting the reports, things like that, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
And then, you know, they offer certain trainings to those people that are in those positions, so there's more.
then there's other
training.
class, what is it, the class, ICM, is 101, 102, those?
There's a bunch of those.
Right.
I don't think it's ICM, but there's other ones where you can take for the roles, and,
We had training on that, actually, Rich Rediker volunteered, let us use his training room, and we brought all the town employees over there for that.
you know, with cert organization and stuff like that too.
Okay, I'll move to appoint Craig to that job he wants.
Second,
Abstain.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Not doing a clerk anymore, right?
liaisons.
Back in the old
No,
days,
no,
yeah.
no. We got a clerk. Liaisons. Keep the
I don't see a
same.
change in
Yeah, I'm
the,
comfortable with the same.
Right,
Although, yeah, this is the point I was trying to bring up was, we don't have a liaison to the police department.
it always has been, I mean, the two major ones, fire and police were Bob at the time.
Right,
And I think since they're full-time, Brian's full-time, that kind of makes sense.
okay.
Yeah. You okay with that?
Yep.
There's nothing extra for it, but.
Well, right,
We just now have a point person that,
Right,
you know.
exactly, yeah.
and you have planning,
I have planning,
Housing.
COA, housing, building, highway,
and I have, what, conservation.
conservation, you had cemetery, I
Z-
believe.
Cemetery and ZBA,
You plan, oh yeah, you plan, yeah, never mind.
cemetery and ZBA,
Right, and advisory,
and advisory.
right. And obviously now the master plan,
Parks.
you have the
fiber-
master plan as well,
Yeah.
and so big Tesla
You
school
got
stuff.
parks, you got
Parks, fiber committee.
fiber,
I was doing school when they had some topics,
Yeah.
but you've been doing a lot of that other stuff, so,
You can't tell me you're not historical as well.
I guess, yeah.
or hysterical.
Well,
Hysterical.
he's got an end,
And you're on the water commission,
Yeah.
and you got the EMD, okay,
so not really a change, just finding out.
okay. All right. Next item on our agenda is a discussion of the government study committee recommendation, and this kind of really, some of this falls into, I think, our next thing with the we'll discuss something. These are the non-legislative or non-town meeting having to be approved recommendations. First of all, they recommend that we have an ongoing study committee to, and, I don't know how
I
you
did
feel about
some, I
that.
did some searching, and I didn't see that in a lot of towns. It was more like, similar to how they handle the master plan. You do it every so often and, you know. Otherwise, it seems like you always have an oversight committee internally impaneled.
So now that the committee's presented their reports, who's bringing back the stuff at a future town meeting?
Well, that's what they have, I mean,
I mean, they all seemed pretty adamant that they didn't wanna continue on.
right.
You thought so?
Yeah. So I mean, there's obviously a lot of good suggestions in here that weren't brought to light at the meeting. You know, and then we have a couple we know that they were gonna be brought back for future vote that we were presented at town meeting. But if the committee feels they did their job now, who is now championing these articles or these initiatives? Does that fall on our lap, or do we need to stay neutral
Now,
still?
now we gotta find out, right? Okay,
I still think to stay neutral, that we need somebody else to.
yeah, put them forward.
Yeah.
So the things that look like will be on the town meeting at some point, probably in the fall, is the name change from selectmen to select board. If that's the case, that means it's still the zone, that planning still has to hold a hearing.
Right,
They
right.
still have to hold a hearing.
Which, if they're thinking of doing Kitty Lane, they're in the mood to do public hearings anyhow.
Yeah,
Right.
3 to 5, in 3 to 5, which doesn't need, and then the elected to appointed town clerk, treasurer, and tax collector. Allowing voting methods besides show of hands, we voted on that at the town meeting. Electronic, if we wanna get into that.
Right, we can now
Right.
move down that road.
Right, and I think that's something, now this gets back into, Craig, you had talked before about an IT thing. This should be, if we want to get into that role, there'll be something you would task the IT person with, you know, so I think it's,
Or look for somebody that provides that service, I guess, right?
They talked about increasing and maintaining resident engagement, communication and website. So we're doing a new website, we're doing that. And I thought maybe we should have links to the police department and the other department, they have kind of their own Facebook pages and
yeah,
stuff.
they have links on their current sub pages.
Yeah.
If you go to library, you see the library link, go to police, you see the police link. Parks, I think, has theirs. Are you thinking you want to bring them up to the top page instead? Because that makes the front page pretty busy.
Well,
Unless you say department links is just.
I would just say
one button.
have department links,
As a
that's all,
button?
then they could go in there and then they could see the different
Okay.
links,
So it's more obvious.
right? Appointment of a facilities manager, we're talking about that, right? Nonpartisan ballots, I mean, they're pretty much nonpartisan now, I mean,
Right.
you have your caucuses.
Yeah, both of us, yeah.
Well, cross-training of personnel. That's something. Phil,
It is, but I just want to say, we're all aware that we're going to be having, again, additional turnover in the next few days. And I think that's something that the town administrator modifies the job description to handle. You know, when you're looking to hire someone, say Cliff retires in the next 10 years. At that point, you're looking for somebody who, I'm being generous, you're looking for somebody who can assume another role at the same time.
I guess it depends on what the department is, what,
That's my point, it's tough to, quantify.
recall election method, that's something that would have to go to the town vote. This, again, the standing or recurring government study committee, so let's look into that. The bylaw to block marijuana is, we have a bylaw that that prevents retail marijuana establishments. And they're saying, should we do away with that? Right?
I've heard the question around town. Some people have looked at what, Brian, correct me, is it Burnfield? That got a huge tax bump.
Yeah, they do.
from, yeah. But, I mean, I've also heard that the bloom is off the rose now on some of that, and some of these places are,
Yeah, some of
falling
the places are suing the towns to get the money back from them.
right,
Yeah, for cleaning your back fees.
Okay, do selectmen liaisons to committee, let's say, should there be term limits on the office of the selectmen?
there are, it's called an election.
On an election, exactly. Do the selectmen liaisons to committees and boards better communicate, or are they the hindrance?
I think that's a lot of times the only way the information gets back to the board.
I don't know how that would be a hindrance.
Yeah, I mean,
Should the town create an open space committee separate for the conservation committee? I thought we had an open
Dude, that was
space
done with
committee
the
at
open
one
space
time.
plan, right?
Open
About
space
10 years
plan.
ago or so, maybe?
this is one of those things where you go, that's a good thought, because we have so many volunteers
Yeah.
just jumping at the opportunity to. But it's not much different than, I have to say, what the land trust does right now. And you see them bringing new blood in. I'm encouraged by, you know, I thought Jennifer did a good presentation at town meeting, so.
The town has many elected positions that were not addressed by the government study committee. Are there others that might be better appointed? That's something I think that we'll see in the future I mean, we were very fortunate this time that all the slots were filled. In the end, they all became filled, and they elected slots.
Yeah, it is, but I think you see that in bigger towns where they appoint the park board. where
They appoint the park, where they appoint everything, yeah. Then we got, would there be advantage of the consolidation of treasurer, collector, assessor, and possibly other to unified finance department? Yeah, but then you're talking about hiring a finance director,
Right.
and they seem to be working fine at this level right
Then you
now.
wonder about the checks and balances then when they're all one department. But to me, that's analogous to what I'm talking about before, where they, so to speak, a building planning department. You know,
Yeah.
much like
Yeah,
John Pearsall was in Wilbraham. That to me is, you know, a coordination. You talked before about one hand not knowing what the other hand doing. And when they all deal in the same documents, that to me should be a focus too.
town meetings on Saturdays, we're gonna try that, I think, aren't we?
We said.
I think we talked about it for the fall, we could do
STM,
it,
we could do it.
right, because it's not in the bylaw,
Right.
right?
So we might be able
Try
to
it
see,
then.
we'll see what the reaction is to it.
Sure, yeah.
And allow remote participation at town meeting. I
don't
think
think we can.
I don't
the
think you
law
can.
excludes that.
Right.
The law definitely excludes that.
And
And
that goes
then-
back to your question, should we be zooming the town meeting, just
Yeah.
recording it for viewing later?
Yeah. I don't see the point, I really don't see the point of zooming it if they can't participate or,
Well, I don't mind the zooming, there might be some people who can't attend, I just think we need to do a much better job of zooming it.
I think,
Right
it could
now,
be-
you've got it set up where nobody wants to watch it because it's so bad.
I think you could do a thing where you can live stream it rather
Yeah.
than zoom it. So there's not a remote participation
Right.
aspect, there's just a, you know, a watching aspect of it. You know, Stream it right to
I
YouTube.
think
That
that's
could
what
be,
they do
yeah.
in the Wilbraham.
And I think Craig's point before, he said, you know, when you look at the two things the school committee does, they were doing Zoom and YouTube was 100% better than when they were trying to Zoom it. And same thing, they weren't taking questions on either, so why do the Zoom?
So typically our fall town meeting is mid-October,
Late October.
late October.
Yeah.
Should we start having Brian put the feelers out to see if there's any companies that can live stream a meeting like that and provide microphones?
Yes.
Well,
So that way we are not, you know, rushing around the last month.
I think we go back two things. You're saying, let's not do the Zoom. Fair enough. So for live streaming, we're just pretty much throwing a camera in the back and there's your stream. Because you're not worried about monitoring who's speaking and stuff like that. And now we need to fix the microphone, the projector, that type of thing, like it was town meetings back in, so to speak, the day. Forget the online presence for that. And the live streaming can just be, shoot, you can live stream off an iPad if you wanted to.
Right, but you still need audio input so you can hear what's going on. So you would still need, you know, some type of microphone system into it.
If they're not picking up the ambient, you're saying,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're not picking up the ambient. So, but yeah, that's really easy to put a mixer board with a company that does it.
Well, look
Mics.
into, I know when we were looking at renting the auditorium at Minichog one time, I found out that actually they have a contractor who handles AV for them. And that might be somebody to reach out to. I think it's some outfit out of South Hadley is responsible for that.
I think it'd be worth it for the 2 times a year, it's not, you know.
Oh, rather than us rushing over on Monday and oh my gosh, you know.
It
And
never
then
works,
something-
never works anyhow.
And then all of a sudden we find out about the Wi-Fi at the last
And
moment.
a lot of those companies that do that, they do the video aspect of it. You know, there's programs that you can use on your iPad. So you have 2 iPads and it's a program called Switcher. You just go, it automatically does it based on speaker.
But I mean, the one thing, I know we hate the owl, but the one thing I do like about the owl is the multi-window thing.
And then we have defined the role of the TA via bylaw. They're in favor of what I guess you call a strong TA. And, you know, the role should be defined in the bylaw.
Brian's eating his Wheaties.
Includes a gym membership.
So that's something we should discuss. All
Okay,
right.
so it is about that time when we say, you know what, town meeting was fun. Let's start putting together the short list for the fall. or at least put out, and it's a little early, typically we send that memo out, but sometimes I don't think we do it early enough. Because these boards have short meetings in the, so if they're coming back in September, they have a month. And if you're talking to a board like, say, planning, they're talking road acceptance. They're gonna need, right now, we need to say, hey,
Best storage. That,
same thing,
Yeah, they have a hearing on that.
Right, so right now, I think it's time to send that memo out. Thank you for everything you did for town meeting. We'd like to start thinking about the fall, which is, I think Craig said before, it's the second town meeting of the year. It's no more the supplemental, it's just as big. For whatever reason, because that's how.
you gotta be able to run a town effectively, and you
Exactly.
need a town meeting to take care of business.
Somebody talked about the fact, how come you don't have it in the budget? Well, we set the budget 18 months before the last dollar is spent. You come in with a bill for this June, that money was figured in January of the year before. Right.
All right,
I think you gave us pretty much the budget update.
Hampden Wilbraham Regional School District budget update. Apparently there's a compromise that's been made. The finance committee is going to approve an extra $40,000. The school committee's gotta come up with $27,000. Their school committee is meeting tomorrow night on the 29th to vote whether to accept the compromise or not. The question that arose was, because the town of Hampden has already accepted the Hampden Regional School District's adopted budget, how does that affect us? There's two opinions. One, we could do one or two things, go to a special town meeting again to approve it, or wait 45 days and do nothing and then it automatically approved. Or there's some thought that if the revision with the way it's happening, because they haven't approved theirs yet, if they approve this new budget, then ours will just be lowered, the same.
I'm going through prior town meetings. This happened before in the last 20 years, where we had a motion to accept a lower assessment. And I think it happened at a fall town meeting, obviously.
Yeah,
So whether it was because the state kicked in more money and they redid their numbers, but we had that motion. So
You're
we'll
saying we
find out.
could bring it back in the fall rather than having a special somewhere in between?
yeah.
As long as it's done inside that year. I mean, the last
Yeah,
dollar
we
has not been
could,
spent
we
yet,
could,
so.
Yes, I think trying to pull together a special
Oh,
outside of those is gonna be,
Yeah, in the summer.
no.
Police communications. Gee. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay.
Chocolate chip?
Yep,
Oh,
fresh
that's
from town.
great, thank you. You sugar me up before?
Yeah, exactly. Here's the carrot. Craig, another, third,
No, I'm good. Third, is that what you said? No, I've only had one.
Brian?
No, I got half one here.
Oh, okay. Honest about it, I like that.
We have the chief here. What we'd like to discuss, you have something?
I have something based on what Mike had sent me on the dark fiber we now have running between all the buildings. And Mike Meany had reached out about wanting to hook up the fire department and DPW with cameras. And he had sent me some rough figures. Is that something that you would wanna take underneath your purview as the police department to be able to monitor that stuff? Or do you think that should be going to dispatch?
You'd have to go to dispatch, because we don't have a 24-hour monitoring way. Yeah, it'd have to go to dispatch.
So I was just curious if we wanted to somehow utilize that fiber. 'Cause I don't know if Tony has a set plan yet, but Mike actually came up with ideas like, hey, I don't know what we're doing, but we could do this. So,
Now, is it
Should we-
duplicated at the station? I mean, what's shown there is shown, I mean, do you see the cameras here at the town hall, at the station?
Tony season.
But there's an app like
yeah,
as well, so you could.
Possibly I'd have to ask Mike if there's a way for us to do it. I mean, I know we have
It's a
a parking lot.
Avignon Blue, was it?
I could go right.
No.
yeah.
I mean, there's two displays in our dispatch area right there. I'm pretty sure it's just covering the police department. I'd have to, I mean, I'm not in there all the time, I don't remember, but I do know that Tony has this. So I would say the umbrella would be under Tony, because it's gotta be monitored.
Right.
How are we doing on that IMA anyhow? We heard from him?
But,
It's on their
quickly,
agenda.
if I could just say, and then if they have that ability, Tony all of a sudden alerts them, hey, we see this on camera, they can like, oh, we see the same thing.
If, well, we have an officer in the station, which I'd rather not have an officer in the station.
Right,
on the
right.
road.
If
So-
it's no cost, I mean, let's have the option.
My question is, you know, is Tony just running the fiber for us and now we have to come up with the hardware? Or should we go back to him and say, hey, you know, you have money for the hardware too?
I gotta wanna believe it's under the developmental grant.
Right.
If he's running the hardware, he's going right across the board for us too.
That's what I'm hoping, but I haven't heard that step yet. And
I-
I think Mike was being proactive to try to see if, you know, hey, maybe we can do something.
We have pushed them that way whenever we've had the fiber and stuff like that ran, to do as much as you can with the developmental grant, which he has
Right.
done us justice.
He talked about the cost of that server for the camera system was
Big.
pretty considerable.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I don't think he was thinking that, he was just gonna spring it on us that, oh, by the way, we put the dark fiber in, here's the bill for 50,000. I think you're right, he was looking for a grant or something too.
Right.
Now, go back to Don's point, was that something, as he expands the system, therefore it's hopefully covered? You know? Part of the IMA, okay, I need more hardware, I boom, and now I can just like dovetail that in.
Which I think he would be able to, because it's under the developmental grant, which is our regional dispatch, which he should.
I wasn't sure if that just ended at the fiber, you know, like, oh, we got the lines in.
No,
now we-
no.
okay.
So the other thing we decided tonight was that he's gonna be the emergency management director.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the board too.
Well, thank you.
And the third thing I wanted to talk about is communications when there's incident in town, there's an incident in town. How are we gonna relay it to,
So I think there was some confusion all the way around. So I wasn't up to par on all of everything that had happened.
before I go, let me, I have to say, I read the report, police report.
Yep.
And I think Officer Wojcik
Mm-hmm.
and Yvonne and Chaplain should be commended for the way they handled a very difficult situation. And it's, I think it's a testament to the way policing is moved, that in those situations, a person that was clearly distressed for whatever reason
Right.
was handled in a professional and dignified manner. And I think that says a lot for the department, and it says a lot for you,
you.
chief, is really the,
The training and the empathy.
No, I appreciate that, and you're absolutely right. The new way of
yeah.
policing has done that, and the officers, I commend them all. We have a lot more of similar situations like this in our community, and the officers are dealing with it more and more, and a lot of our first aid training is dealing with how we deal with individuals as is.
It was, when we brought officers on, it was always, we said, we want your first question when you pull somebody over is, what's wrong? Do you need some help? Something like that, you know, community policing, you push that quite a bit in your time on,
Right.
we're community police, we're not.
No, and I think I said that as I came on board to become our chief, you know, I definitely am about the community-oriented police officer getting out, saying hi to people, getting out in our community and visiting our checks at the businesses, which we hopefully see our officers too. But to your point, Mr. Chairman, about this last incident, so I try to come in, try to review the logs from the weekend, find out what's going on, what I need to be attentive to. This particular incident, I'm gonna take it on my shoulders, because obviously I didn't move forward with any information that, I didn't really have any information. I missed that person. The initial report that I was referring to was at approximately 1800, 6 o'clock, when he first dealt with this individual. It's a police report here in the area of Main Street. So I had my 3 officers, which were 2 of the same officers that ended up working overtime into the next evening after our elections. As I explained to the town administrator when he reached out to me on Wednesday afternoon, on a phone call I got back to him later on in the afternoon, is the initial report that I really dove into and saw in the log was our officers dealing with this individual about 6 o'clock. Well, 4:30 in the morning, the next morning, they're dealing with the individual here. I looked at it as I was reading this main report. I see that they're dealing with him at the front steps of the town hall. Did not get that he had actually entered here. As I had mentioned to Brian later on and passed along, that I got a hold of Officer Wojcik. got a hold of Sergeant Meany, and basically said, what did I miss? The report's there. Well, the report is tied into this main report. So I'm dealing with this whole situation then they dealt with him again at 4:30 in the morning. Come to find out, he did unauthorized, entered the building here and was inside of our building for a period of time.
Because the door was unlocked.
Door was unlocked. He made a call
And he
from
was in-
inside here
he
because the
was in-
last
He was
place,
in distress.
he was in distress because when they dealt with him and left with him, he was okay.
Yeah.
They reached out to family members, and he did not want to go anywhere with anybody. He was here for his main reasons, as it points out to the report. And so when they left him alone, comments that I'm realizing is the last place he knew where the police department was here.
Here.
He needed help now. He knew that he needed help. The officer said, if you need help, come
Call the
find us
police
or call
department.
them. He comes here. Yes, we have a door open, gets into the building, and my understanding is he made it to an open area where there's a phone and made a call. I got the part of the report and didn't finish reading the whole report because I was combining it with the initial reference here at 6 o'clock that he actually entered. He was already in here and he came out to meet the officers and he was sitting on the front steps as I sent off to Brian, when I knew there was a concern that, hey, nobody communicated to us. You know, we've had this conversation previously, and I have no problem reaching out to the TA and to the chairman of the board, and I've said that I will do my due diligence doing that. If I had that information, one of you or both of you would have got that information.
And Brian, you sent out an email to everyone saying, make sure the doors are locked.
Yeah, and
So
you know.
that door was missed during the
Yeah,
building check.
So, well, so again, here, now, the building, our checks are attempted to be done twice, an evening, right? And as I talked to the sergeant, you know, come into the building, you go around the building. We had polls till about 12:30, I spoke to Sergeant Cooney. Polls were till about 12:30, that happened to be the door that we're talking about, that's unsecure. So polls are closed down, maybe a door was open, maybe someone missed it at that point in time. That check for this building was not done for the first time till after. So that corner wasn't checked, obviously, right? So maybe a check was missed wherever it fell, at 4:30 in the morning, yeah, we should have been at, but getting out of the cruiser and checking all the doors, that's one of the things on our midnight shift to be doing.
how do you, so where do we draw the line? I guess, where do we draw the line about notifying the TA about something? I mean, you know, you have, I don't need, I guess an entry into the town hall is something we should know about.
Very concerning.
Stopping some guy for a DUI is, you know,
Right.
that happens all the time.
Right.
I guess a violent incident, I don't know if there's a protocol or procedure or something like that, but I mean, I think we've tried to work it out pretty good, so. But this was a little concerning to everybody, until we got all the facts and found out what happened.
And I guess my part of it too is communication, I think on all of our ends, right? I mean, I become aware of it later on in the afternoon
Yeah.
Wednesday. I had already left the area. I was gonna be off on vacation for the next 2 days. And so I would just ask too, if maybe you become aware of something, one of the board members who respond to our TA, who can reach out to me in a quickly fashion, and we can get the facts together. And I think we would be able to conquer a lot more that way, back and forth. As soon as whoever found out about it, got my number, call me, let me know, or go through the TA, I mean,
Well, the way it happened is I always look at the ambulance reports and just to see, mostly I look at it to see if they have a paramedic on it like they're
Sure.
supposed to.
So what we were
And
supposed
to
to.
see if there's a delay.
Right.
And I saw, 625 Main Street, I thought, oh gee, that's not town hall. I
Sure.
thought, Did we take, I didn't even look at the time.
Right.
Was it an employee or was it a
Right.
resident?
Right.
Worried about a lawsuit, someone falling.
Sure.
And then when Brian checked, I said, oh geez, that's a whole different story.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and again, I would have liked to have been maybe through protocol, you reach out to Brian, who Brian calls me, chief, hey, what happened? We had an ambulance call, I didn't get a chance to look it up or something like that. Again, I didn't know, though, I had an unauthorized entry in the building till, Brian got me going, I got a hold of the officers and all that, I got all my facts straightened together, but I mean, if I would have known when it happened, if I would have known when I came in at 8 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday morning, Brian would have been getting my call right away. I would have probably emailed both of you and then called, and that's what I expect to do and plan on doing, moving forward. But like you said, I don't think every little incident that happens in town. If you wanna call me in, or we have a liaison who comes into my office, as I've spoken with, Craig before, and we talk about what happened for over the month, and we relay that through whom we ever, and that goes out to the board. But, I think that's something that needs to be, what should have been reported. If I had that information, I would have reported it. I think I need to do a little bit better job inside, because I am aware that a supervisor was made aware of it. That's pretty important, that the chief should have been made aware of it also. So that's something I gotta handle with inside. Why it wasn't, I don't know, but I'll work on it.
Good.
On that point of liaison, we did, nominate Brian to be the point person for both police and fire.
I didn't
Okay,
accept it
As
yet.
Bob was before.
I didn't accept it yet.
So, I mean, however you guys maybe wanna work it out, maybe have, a monthly coffee or something, or,
Well, yeah, and that's fine. I mean, above and beyond our meeting, our staff meeting that we do have. So that's fine, yeah. Mouthful.
What? I don't know, go ahead, say it.
No, I don't know. I was concerned, but I brought it up before. Again, as Don said, communication is key. I think it's important that, and we talked, Don just alluded, where do you set the bar? And I think if you look back at prior incidents, we were concerned that the board really wasn't kept in the loop on something that was pretty important, that we felt one of us should have known about. And at that point, I think the communication would go at least to the chair, and it would be his job to bring it out. And I think, looking at what happened before, I think we can all say, in the future, we need to make sure that we get our information from the chief. And we don't want to rely on, because you're gonna give us the straight skinny, and we appreciate that.
And the point I wanna make, I wanna bring to the board, as I mentioned to Brian when I got the call. If I had that information and I read the log and saw the full entry of the building and didn't get caught up in the
That's not
first
what I'm
report,
talking about.
you would have had,
That's not what I'm talking about.
what are you talking about?
I'm talking about Wilbraham.
So why are we going back to Wilbraham when we're talking about this?
We're talking about communication. That's what the whole subject
But we had
was.
already talked about Wilbraham. But if you wanna talk about Wilbraham, we can talk about
No,
Wilbraham.
I'm just saying, so going forward, we will just wanna make sure that, like, things like this, we wanna make sure, communicate, it makes it so much easier, you know.
I'm not trying to withhold information from the board at all,
No,
neither
it
the
is.
TA or anything like that, and I get what you're saying, John, so I'm going to do the best I can do and give you the information, and something like Wilbraham's a very big incident that the board should have known about, absolutely.
Right.
And I got the facts, and they became aware of it later on, not immediately. I will not give, during an investigation, call a board member when things are going on, you're gonna hear about it a couple of days later. If I got a full investigation going on with a serious situation going on, I'm not gonna pick up the phone if I have time to pick up the phone to make the board aware of, I got Officer Downers, absolutely. I hear what you're saying, but I've gotta make sure that I'm not hampering my investigation or another town's investigation to be, before I start to release.
Anything else? So you can be, Brian be the liaison, you guys can work it out.
Sure.
All right, thank you, yeah, thanks, chief.
thanks, Scott.
Oh, and the dog, one thing, the dog officer's car has an air conditioning issue.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna continue to have more problems as we've talked about, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get another car earlier rather than later. So we're probably between $1,500 and $1,900 for a new air conditioner unit. I think obviously she's gonna be transporting dogs around in the summer.
Yeah.
And she should have an air conditioner. We had said that before, it's only got 114,000 miles on it. Concerning, but I don't want to go down the path of, let's see how much we gotta keep putting into it, right? So we do have some extra money, we're gonna utilize our budget and do that and get it out of the way, but I would hope to maybe get permission and talk to Brian and the board to move forward with maybe something in the fall.
Are you, on that topic, are you thinking about handing down a vehicle, or does she need something strictly, maybe like a transit van instead?
I think I had mentioned it to, when Mr. Flynn was our chairman back in the time, that I was hoping to move that vehicle, car two, to her. It's a little bit bigger. We'd have to put a cage in it. I think we had talked about, we'd have to strip it down a little bit and take the decals off and all that, but it's a bigger vehicle for her, which I think would probably be better, to put a dog cage in the back.
And are those sufficient for animals, you think? I mean, I don't know space-wise what she normally transports. I mean, she's been using
Bigger than what she
the red
has.
one now.
Bigger than the one she has,
But
yeah.
bigger than what she
has that been adequate size-wise for her?
I haven't heard of any issues, but I mean, it doesn't,
Not picking up bear, I think. It's in good shape, yeah.
Sometimes you're running 2 or 3 dogs, I mean, I don't know if you're going
Yeah,
through a
no.
situation where a homeowner's got 2 dogs, you gotta.
right, no, I haven't heard of any issues with this particular vehicle, the Explorer, but the one that would be the next one to go rather than trade it in with our close to 68, 70,000 would be the bigger vehicle, the Tahoe that we happen to have. So we can work towards that hopefully. We'll keep her under 100,000 when we do to go.
Right, but is that vehicle a patrol vehicle?
Yes, it is, yeah.
How many non-patrol vehicles do we have?
So we only have 2, the cruiser that the chief drives and the cruiser detective drives. It's a non-administrative, or it's our administrative non-patrol vehicles.
Okay, and the cruiser the detective drives is a
Tahoe,
SUV.
SUV, right?
So would it be, and we had this conversation before, should we also look at going to more of a non-SUV vehicle for the detective then, if we're transitioning that car over? If it's not a patrol car, and we don't necessarily need the cage in it and stuff like that, should we look for a car that is more of, I won't say a business car, but you know, more of a business car?
Sure, and we had that
We talked about
Taurus,
this in
was
the
it the
past.
Taurus, that silver
Oh,
one,
yeah,
the gray one
Taurus.
we had the detective used
Yeah.
a while back, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a possibility to
They
move
don't
that
make
way.
cars anymore.
They don't, yeah, and there
Don't
you
make
go, so.
sedans anymore.
Ford's only making the Mustang and the electric Focus.
And so that would be the other issue then going into
Yeah,
that package, but if we're going to a non-police package, like you said,
Well, even a
Trucks,
mini
not
one,
SUVs.
say an Escape or something like that, so you do have some storage ability to it.
right, sure, yeah. It just happened to be the way that it was passed down in the previous ways. And
Thank
thank
you.
you.
You, going Tuesday next week? Great.
Yes, I was going to, any board going, TA, board?
I'm gonna try to make it a trans, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's good information from the last one was at the Wilbraham Country Club when we'd, the National Grid's there. They talk about all the different, the forestry department, their double pole, Verizon was there, that's where I got the information last year from the double poles and stuff like that. Very good informational meeting that comes out of there, and some good contacts that we can get. So, and they give us a little breakfast too, so. It's always nice to have, it's always nice to have.
Oh, you get
No, we're paying for it in the
get the
writing, I'm
food,
sure.
That's true, yeah.
I'm sure we're paying for it somewhere.
Free light bulbs.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
So vacancies, so the elected board we seem to do okay,
Yeah.
okay? The elected board's real full.
There is one, talking to Brian, there's one electee who hasn't signed yet, one of the park, people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And, staff, we need a cemetery clerk.
We've had a couple of discussions about that. I know we talked about one person that was interested in, the same person that also threw to Brian, possibly for the master plan committee, current town hall employee, with more hours.
What about that person that came before us months ago for cemetery clerk position? Oh, but she wanted to be able to work after hours, right?
Yeah.
So that went to work out.
And that seems to be some of the issue with, there was one person interested in it, but it seemed like the hours and stuff were a bit of a concern. Now, that seems odd. I mean, the position, if I'm correct, is funded for 5 hours. Even though the posting for the cemetery office is maybe 15. So I'm not quite sure how those two things gel. If the budget is 5 hours, how is it hard to figure out what 5 hours there are? I mean, it seems like you should be able to say, well, I want somebody there to answer the phone. Yeah, but you're not paying them to answer the phone. You know, you're not gonna find, what are you gonna answer the phone from 10 to 11, 4 days a week, and that's it? Or you just come in at 4 every night and listen and get all the voicemails for that day?
It's only budgeted for 5 hours?
Yeah.
Really?
What was, the old clerk working, more than 5 hours?
I only really saw Annie in the afternoon, so,
Yeah, but she was here more than 5 hours.
yeah.
She was here for, 4 days a week, 3 days a week at least?
Yeah, so. But there was something that the old commissioners were concerned about. They felt they needed more hours. So. I really think a couple of these things are appropriate. One right here. Right here.
I gotta wash it out.
appropriate for, I mean, we should be, I don't wanna say market them to Green Meadows, but there are some positions here that can work into a good schedule for people who have children.
So on that topic of hours, I know Water Commission is gonna be looking for clerical help down the road as well. So that might be an extra couple hours a month.
And again, if you're not particular about the time,
Right.
that's where this person who was working here could fit it in.
Right.
Look, if you need minutes typed, the Excel kept up to date, the bills, whatever, as long as I can do that from 3 to 4, 3 days a week, no problem.
And Cemetery and Water Commission are in the same office. Just, it's easier.
That's, there's a comment to be made, I'm just not sure what it could
Yeah,
be.
me either. I had
It
something,
seemed
I
to be
had
something,
something.
yeah.
Master plan, then the advisory still never got a
No.
clerk.
No,
And conservation is obviously still looking for a conservation agent. And we need a Zoom operator, we need a facilities manager. And then on the conservation committee itself, members.
are we meeting with those kids from Minichog anytime soon, or? Have you heard from-
Once we approve the job description,
I thought
tonight.
Steve had 2 kids, I thought, Steve Hale had 2 kids that they
Yeah,
said.
yeah, we'll follow up with them,
Okay,
once we have the,
Go to the job descriptions. You got it here. So this is your,
my magic, borrowed from a different town in Vermont,
Vermont,
yeah.
what town?
Oh, I don't remember.
is this, did you just send us this meeting?
Brian just sent it.
Oh, okay,
That's the one we were talking about.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
okay, well, yeah, I'll go. At the starting gate, all right, who's paying for that?
National Grid.
Every month
Nice.
on your bill, on your electric bill.
Manager's technical setup, ensuring necessary equipment. You wanna post this, is that what you're doing?
This will be the job description that's approved, and then there's a posting, yeah. Underneath it.
And what's gonna be the pay scale?
When I talked with Dick, he was suggesting it was, grade 1, step 1.
I think if you go back, that's what Laura was being credited for.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah.
It's better than flipping burgers.
And the idea here, I think, would be that we'd have
Really?
Running Zoom? Sure.
No, I
a
thought burgers
number of
getting paid
different
more now,
candidates,
huh?
number of different people qualified, so that we're not dependent on 1 or 2 people's schedules. Where we're trying to hold a public hearing, and then all of a sudden, this individual's not
Yeah,
available, and now
right.
we're coordinating between the board members and the Zoom operator and the applicant. As long as we could have a pool of qualified applicants that we could
Pick
try to
through
rotate through,
Kinda like substitute teachers.
yeah.
Yeah.
parents.
I have to- I have to-
You have a stable.
I have to simplify it then for myself.
I appreciate that
I
too.
didn't understand the pool.
Stable, it's a stable, you can pick a horse.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got here? We got cemetery. So you're thinking are we talking about having a cemetery clerk and master plan person, or cemetery clerk, water commission person? I mean, are you saying here's like a flexible person, here's,
Utility person?
we are utility, yeah, we have 12,
DH.
we have 12 hours, we have 12 hours
Utility
a
clerk.
week.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
can do 4 in cemetery and 5 in water and 3 in something else.
That might be the
Yeah,
best option,
fine.
because, yeah, one person can, at least now they know they're getting a few extra
Right.
hours.
So do we post for a utility person,
Floater, a floater.
A master clerk,
floater?
clerical staff.
Alright.
I don't hear any,
I think that would make the best option, most sense,
all right,
because then if we could shift around as need be.
And would we pay that person out of each of the department budgets that they work for? Or would we be better to have that person have a slot in under the selectmen's budget for utility or
Most of these departments already have a clerical budget. I think the key part though is defining what hours and when, because all of a sudden, Department A says, no, I need this person from here to here, and this one says, no, our idea of a floater goes out the window. And I think maybe it's a question, Brian's got a staff meeting coming up next week, and maybe that's the time look, if we all can work together, maybe we can find somebody that's gonna,
fill all these
fill the
slots.
slot everywhere.
Okay.
So,
Alright. Zoom operator postings okay for everybody?
Yeah.
All right, Brian, zoom away.
Right.
Anything else? On that one? All right, well, we have our town moderator with us.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Moving right along, thank you.
All I can ask of you. So, I got your note.
Yeah, what do you think?
I like it. I mean, I like all of it. I think there's some, I don't know that all of it could be enacted, but some of the things, first and foremost, on the 2/3 vote, the next morning, that literally, before the meeting was over, I decided we're gonna hand count from now on. I stand by, we
Yeah.
had 2/3.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah,
You did. 'Cause we were on the stage and I could see, and the call was right.
yeah.
But for some reason, and I'm wondering if some people didn't raise their hand no then because they were sitting next to their neighbor who was yesing and they said, oh, what the heck, and it looks like it passed anyhow, I'll say yes, because it changed dramatically after that. And it's not because people left, because not that many left.
I had a sense, I can't tell you, in the end, I think we're talking still after the transition, one way or the other. We're not talking 5 votes, the
No.
difference to making to it, the 2/3.
No.
2/3 looks way different up there.
But
than-
isn't that part of your instruction, what Don just said, you're, okay, put your hand back up. You're not supposed to get new votes in the recount, technically.
But, I talked to Dick Vitello about it afterwards, and he said, the bottom line is, once the challenge is made in the manual recount, it's a free-for-all at that point, because because how are you gonna know?
It's a reconsideration at that point.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not quite that far as a reconsideration, it's a manual recount.
But
But, all said, for whatever it was, the initial count clearly had the 2/3. And whether it was some people leaving, some folks who said, you know what, now that there's this, whatever it was, it was.
Now
And
there's a question, I'm gonna vote.
so from now on, unless it's just, I literally, before the meeting was over, I said, before the meeting started, I said, you might wanna count this one, but then it was so clear. But neither here nor there, we'll do the count going forward. Some of the other things that are in here, I'm gonna do some research on, because the consent question, really, quite frankly, a lot of these items in here, the Mass Moderators Association does a really great job with education. They also do a really great job, you may or may not be aware, but they have what they call the gavel line. And it's an open email for moderators, and there's every single day, there are questions in there, hey, what if I do this, what if I do that? What, can we do this, can we do that? And the consent question has been out there before. So it clearly is something that would make a lot of sense. Not for nothing, but before we even started, the judge came up, Bob Howarth, and he said, you might wanna take some of these simple questions and maybe move them up front. So, the consent thing is something that I've seen before, I haven't researched it. We have, and it doesn't mean it's right, but we do have a strong tradition for how the meeting has been run for the last, pick a number, 60 years, 70 years. But times are changing, and, I don't think people are, sometimes getting the information. I think people are now getting pulled in so many different directions that town meeting isn't what it was. Quite frankly, back in the day, going to town meeting was akin to going to church. People dressed up, they put a suit on, they came to town meeting. Those days are gone. People's got, their kids are going there, they're going here, they're going there. I saw one of the suggestions is the potential for a Saturday meeting. So let me just tell you this, let me make it simple instead of going around the pole here. I'm gonna research all of this. And then I think we should meet again, and I'll have some more written, I've already sent a couple things out to the gavel line to say, hey, who's using consent? Who's doing this, who's doing that, and can you give me some background on what you've done, how it's worked, that type of thing. So I think we should meet again, maybe in a month or so, and we can talk about, probably the coordination between the board and myself and the advisory committee, especially if we start to talk about things like consent orders, where, you've got the last 5 questions are kind of rote, and we see them every year. Brian actually brought up a good point when we sat with Rose about the highway department question. Do we really need to have it? I think you said where you were before, in Whately, they don't even put the question on the ballot anymore.
Not for chapter 90, no.
So,
But
and there's
isn't
borrowing.
it- but isn't it borrowing in anticipation of? I mean, doesn't it have to be
Right, well,
voted?
because the borrowing is there, and that's
Right.
that's another thing I'll research, like, do we have to do it, or is it so rote that you can go without it?
Mm.
And I agree with you, I can see where you're going, this is all about transparency.
Yeah.
So if all of a sudden, it's not there, but some of these.
I know what you're
consent
saying, you
questions-
need the question, oh, they only take a minute, but the minutes add up.
They do
And-
have,
Yeah, right.
I mean, I sit down, before the meeting, I literally read the entire warrant, so
Mm.
I know how long it's gonna take just to read the portion of the announcement of each question.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think the last one, I did it twice, I think you're up around 10 to 12 minutes just to read that.
I watch a lot of YouTube ones, and they do ask to waive a lot of readings, and I think that might be something I could talk about.
Yeah.
One question is, we talked earlier this evening about the potential for the fall town meeting to be our test for a weekend meeting. Since it's not in the general bylaws, we can have it any day we want.
Right.
And to see, Craig was talking even polling first, what do you think about a Saturday meeting?
My only thing about a Saturday meeting, and I will tell you now, and again, not to vacillate, I'm not against it. I just wonder how many people, you start to get into the fall and soccer games and this and that.
There's always something.
There's always gonna be something, and Monday night could be just as bad, so you clearly, the issue doesn't go away. But to the point that we're all trying to get to, they put a pitch count in it for a reason, to speed things up. And I think if we can speed it up and, be more, and again, I don't think in any way, manner, shape, or form, we were disrespectful of people's time or anything else. We got it done in 3 hours, and it was not an easy agenda, and the bottom line is, I timed it. The senior center question was close to 50 minutes of debate, and I really wanted to try and be fair there. You probably could have cut that back by quite a bit and knocked it down, but, again, for example, in, Connie, I didn't even see her. And typically, I'd seen she had written a letter to the editor, so, you're trying to make sure it doesn't come out as unbalanced, and you land where you land. So clearly, speeding the thing up is huge, but speeding it up for the sake of speeding it up isn't any good either.
No,
Right.
So,
Right.
I obviously, and I will tell you, I think the way what you sent over was well thought out. And I think there has to be the recognition, this is the selectmen's meeting, it's simply my job to referee it.
Right, and we're gonna look into, and Craig brought the lead on that, about the AV part of it, really just maybe hire a company, maybe go put it out to bid or something like that. How can we make the experience, the hearing, the visual better for everybody?
And I think I told you, Jen, and I did leave him a message, and I expect to hear back from him. One of my, not for nothing, one of our clients is a musical repair, that's what he does, he repairs speakers and that type of thing. He and I happened to be talking about this 3 or 4 years ago, he lives out in South Hadley, and I think it might be that meeting. But he said they hired a sound company, at one point he said, I'll give you the name, but we never got back together on it.
Well, I did mention to the board, the sound AV part at Minichog is a company in South Hadley. They have the rights to handle the sound in the auditorium.
Okay, maybe it's the same company.
It could be the same company, right?
Yep, so, but maybe we can check, so there's a lot of stuff in here that I think we should definitely, I would be in support of, it's your meeting, I'll work with it, we'll work together, and I agree, I think we gotta get people out of there faster. And who knows, if on one hand, we can speed this up, let's say we can sub out reading some of the questions, it might afford us a better opportunity to explain the question as opposed to just reading it. And that might make it easier for some people. So there's a big silver lining here. This is not just like, yeah, we can do this.
Okay.
So I'll do some more homework and I'll get back to you guys and whatever you come up with. But like I said, through the gavel line, I can address a lot of these things and I've already sent a couple of them in. So I'll let you know.
Okay.
all right,
Do you have any questions for me? Any thoughts, concerns?
Yeah, a lot of people in town, we're hiring for clerks, we have many openings, put the word out.
Sure.
There we go.
there we go. more patronage for the moderator.
You gotta pad that $100. One of these days I might take it.
Somebody has to blow the dust off that 100, it's never been taken.
That's never, so, but no, I think by and large, with, you know, with some exceptions, it went fairly well, given it is what it is.
Yeah,
You know, I think we got through it and we'll go from there.
all right.
So you know where to find me if you need me.
All right, thank you, thanks for
Thanks, you
coming
guys.
in.
Thank you soon. Brian, I'll try and reach back to you within the next 2 weeks, and whatever we do, we'll
You
get
must have them, I guess.
way out in front
What?
of.
The license,
The fall
who
town
has
meeting.
them?
Yeah,
Where's the,
I guess.
Thank,
where's that attorney showing up?
she's here,
What?
she's here,
Yeah, we'll zip
she's
it.
in my
give me that
office.
last one before you guys devour them all.
Right, she's doing that.
She's here?
Came
got-
early, she's in my office.
Yeah, sure.
Who's got the licenses?
I got the license. Here. Entertainment license.
Are you entertained? What was that movie? Are you entertained? The Gladiator? Never saw it?
Give me a couple more lines.
Gladiator, you don't know Gladiator?
No, give me a couple more
Are you
lines.
entertained? It was after he like,
This Scarface?
yeah. All right, so we have Senior Center, another party. Two more parties.
The same party, 2 different days.
Motion to approve.
Anyhow, they're having the art show on the first and second. They'd like
We're gonna do wine.
wine from 12 to 5 on the first and 11 to 3 on the second.
Oh, what times you said?
12 to 5 on the
12 to 5.
first and 11 to 3 on the second, Sunday,
So moved.
What, second of what?
June.
June. So
Well,
this
this is
weekend they're
coming
having
up
the,
this weekend,
yeah,
huh?
yeah. It's not,
So you made a motion?
Yep.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then Off the Stick, which I did not know was their official
That's their
name,
official name, yeah.
on view.
Oh, really? That's their, the business name?
Yeah. Wants a day event on Tuesday, June 18th, for a last day of school party.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna be the fun one.
June 18th,
And
at the dog tank.
2 to 7?
Tuesday, yeah.
live event, DJ. And, okay, we have, this event is issued with the condition that noise levels be controlled by the closing of the doors. I don't think that's realistic. I'm sure. Do you think this is actually happening in that small room to the right?
The live music might be in the
Yeah.
back row, wouldn't it?
Right,
Might
so
be in the back, right?
this, I think, is verbiage from the Great Horse.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
DJ.
right,
Yeah, it's probably outside, so we just have to
right.
change that.
I think they're striking that line.
What's the time, 2 PM to 7 PM, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple neighbors nearby. It's, who's next door? Chapel Lane, is it, in that brick house? Yeah. Other than that, there's not too much of a residential. Claude?
Claude,
Yeah, yeah. I think 7 should be okay, you know.
Yeah, 7 should be okay.
So we're striking that line about the closing of the doors. I don't think that's realistic. And ask for approval.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
all right,
Jane volunteered the Board of Health chair to sit in the dunk tank.
Yeah, I heard that.
Are we revoting the
second,
reorg? I'll reach out to the Board of Health in Wilbraham, see what they're doing.
who's gonna sit in the dunk tank?
Speaking of that, before we go into executive session, I know I brought it up before, maybe, we don't have a lot going on. I really would like to see the town meeting next Monday. Even if the chair was saying, you know, let's push our meeting to Tuesday or something. And I'm interested to see the discussion happen on what happened on this school budget.
So you wanna switch our meeting till next Tuesday?
Or pass it. I mean, it's up to the chair. I mean, we don't have a lot on the agenda. The biggest thing coming forward is gonna be closing the books, and we're not even close to that time yet, right? Yeah, we're
What are
not.
you doing Tuesday?
Tuesday?
Yeah,
He's not watching
we'll-
not watching the Bruins, I know that.
ouch.
Too soon, too soon.
Tuesday's usually tacos.
Cookies instead of tacos instead of cookies.
I think, I don't have a
Okay,
problem with that.
I have no problem with meeting again next Tuesday.
That's
Yeah,
changed
whatever.
Ty and Bond's presentation, but
What are you doing?
Ty and Bond has a presentation that we saw for Monday,
Oh,
so I have to check
They'll
with
take it,
them.
yeah. And you'll be able to
Paying them good
report
money.
on that municipal meeting on Tuesday, that's good. Okay. I mean, they're just presenting to us, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's keep it short on Tuesday then.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Okay.
okay.
Like I say, I think the big thing for June is closing the books.
My phone.
And maybe Brian will have some recap on this MVP money thing going on. Cause this is.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
interesting.
Right.
So next Tuesday,
I did talk a little bit to Mark about why the MVP was spent on that crossing at the Commons. Why they spent money on it. He said, well, Bob had to make the plan for it. Like, why?
For crosswalk?
Yeah,
I remember that now that you say that.
yeah, yeah.
It triggers.
And actually, I think we all looked at him like, why? At the same time, he said he had it
Cause he
done.
had to have a road design, cause that's, no, he had the design done for the holographic sidewalks,
Yeah, the
and
whole-
remember all that?
yeah, yeah,
You know, the raised lettering, it looked like you're gonna drive into it, so it slowed
Yeah,
you
and
down.
that was fine. Then I didn't realize it cost us that much money he had it, so. Anyhow, and I asked what happened with the one at Memorial Park. We did it ourselves. We didn't need a design. Now, I asked about the one out here. That has not been ordered yet.
He's
He said he
waiting.
gave us the quote, but
Yeah,
until we
we-
figure out where the funding comes from.
Yeah, that's where Brian was reallocating.
Yeah, so going before the gaming commission, June 20th.
Right.
So that'll
That
be out of next
proposal will
year.
go before the,
Unless we want to find the money somewhere in this budget.
Well, June 20th is only a couple weeks away, so.
Yeah, but that money still won't come in this fiscal year. It's, there's
Oh,
no way,
you're
we're not gonna get a check from them by, June 30th.
Well, I guess we'll have to see the final books before we can see if
Yeah.
there's any.
I think talking to Mark, it was about 15,000 per crosswalk between labor and buying
yeah, I
stuff.
remember that.
You know.
Sounds about right.
And I say we can come up with
It
it?
wasn't bad, but.
No, no. So maybe if we get another report from Cliff,
That
we'll
would
see
have
where.
helped it, this weekend out
Oh,
here.
yeah. We'll see another report from Cliff, I imagine, we'll see some. The one thing he does say, except for these outstanding reimbursements from the state, we're in very good shape. Snow and ice wasn't bad,
Yeah, so nice wasn't bad this year.
right?
Hey, we have any selectmen reports?
No, they can't wait. No.
Fiber optic committee's meeting tomorrow, and we have the June 12th, listening session at TWB.
Okay, I've got nothing.
Oh, quickly, just to say, Dan Hall from the DEP came out, met with the Water Commission. The Water Commission brought him up to speed on what had happened at town meeting and presented the plan going forward and what was. And I think that was something that was well received by the DEP, I think. Very, very good meeting in terms of cooperation, proactiveness, et cetera. So,
Definitely positive.
yeah.
Just on that topic real quick of water, since you're there, I just saw something come in from Jen Gilbert from Ty and Bond for the one-stop application. Brian will probably have more information on that, but I just saw it pop up while we were in the
I
meeting.
haven't seen it yet.
I forwarded that to Brian. That came in this afternoon.
Did it come in? I just
There's
saw
the
it.
second one I forwarded to Brian too, cause
Yeah, 5:30.
Okay.
it's kinda like more than I had to know about. how to
Oh yeah,
handle
Brian got
this.
left off of it.
Yeah, one of them, he wasn't on one first
Okay.
one.
But, and did she get back to you about the next steps and how to proceed, Brian?
No. We got an
In terms
email that
of-
said she drafted an email with next steps.
Okay, in terms of the funding or the
Never sent it.
RFQ part?
Where,
you-
where do we go now to spend the money that was allocated at town meeting?
Well, I think John had sent out the note, we need an RFQ developed by Ty and Bond.
Yes.
Right, right, and that's
know
what they're,
about it.
and she acknowledged that.
Right, but we need a proposal for that, and I don't think we've got it back yet, right?
I haven't seen anything.
Mm-hmm.
One of them she sent, sent you tonight too. Tomorrow's the deadline.
For,
One of the grants?
Getting an application. I have to dig it in the email.
If the town doesn't have an account, please create one by end of day,
Yeah,
Wednesday,
that's it.
29.
For a one
like-
stop? Bob always talked about
We
one
got- we
stop.
got a-
If we don't have one.
Oh, one stop's
Yes,
not
we
due on
don't
the
have-
28th.
All right, well,
We've
something
gotta-
we're gonna
we've gotta
tomorrow.
account for
Yeah.
that.
Application is due Wednesday, June 5th. I'll figure it out.
All right, figure that
I
out.
forwarded it to you in case if you didn't get it earlier.
Okay, anything?
Just quickly, because we touched on them earlier, there's 2 IMAs outstanding. Remember, there's the regional health IMA that we have amendments to, and then I talked with Nick, the town administrator from Wilbraham, about the regional dispatch IMA. And they're waiting to hear back from council on it, but they didn't really have any issues with the changes that we sent them. So they need to it sounded like they need to get through their town meeting, and then
Yeah.
they'll get back to us on it.
Okay, back to that type of thing. Don, you had mentioned before we sent the letter requesting a meeting with the school committee.
Right.
I don't know if that's kind of moot at this point, but we typically have a meeting with Wilbraham now with a change. I assume Sue is chair now, Mark coming on. And I think it would be our turn to go over, if we could like, just touch base with them, hey, can we get together sometime in the summer? You know, with their schedule, our schedule, and,
Like a little pool party or something?
I mean, if you bring your stick and we'll shoot and
Not
put,
that
you know,
Your substitutes?
Your bathing suit.
down to the VFW, is that
I'll
what you're saying?
entertain a motion to go into executive session. Executive session to discuss the strategy with respect to litigation. An open meeting would be detrimental to our position. The case is Connors versus the Town of Hampden.
So moved.
Second, John Flynn, aye.
And we will not return to open session. Aye,
Craig Rivers, aye.
Don Davenport, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.